Alright, so the script for this video was originally intended to be for a short review. While playing the game, I was in the process of determining how short it would be. Would it go into shorts? Would it be long enough for an actual regular video? However, as I was looking stuff up for the game, I made a discovery that changed everything. This wasn't going to be just a review anymore. This was going to be something more than that. But before anything, I guess it's just best to start from the beginning. This game popped into my Steam about a year or two ago and immediately caught my attention. What's this? A game that has an 80s anime aesthetic? A resource management game like FTL? And it looks gorgeous? What more could I ask for?
Since before time, whenever our explorers were lost, they would look to the forever star to find their way home. Now, a great darkness has found us. The war-mongering Zootopans sought to extinguish our light. In a desperate bid to defend our beloved home, we committed everything we had. Yet, the cold malice of Admiral Voltan couldn't be stopped. The battle was lost. I knew what I had to do. Where our only hope lies. I, Princess Euphora, last remaining regent of our people, will lead us to the Forever Star. Those of us who survived that day lost everything. But this is not our end. We will survive. Because together, we will keep hope alive.
Hunt them down. No survivors.
Yep, nope, that was it. That right there sold me. I was all in when I got the story with that beautifully animated intro. It's a story of hope. No matter how bleak something is, no matter the height of all those imposing odds, come hell or high water, I was gonna love this experience. Surely that was gonna be the case all the way through, right? Well, I was gonna find out one way or another. Needless to say, playing the tutorial on a game you've never played before is probably a good idea. That being said, beyond teaching you the basics, the game doesn't really do much to help you in the form of tips. So, off the bat, I discovered that there are two ways to play the game. You get your run-of-the-mill standard resource management that you do, or you can press the escape key and enable creative mode. Which just means placing new items down at zero cost. I mean, you still have to maintain and monitor resources, and of course you still got those baddies that are still out to get you. The captain of the ship is actually a princess, Princess Euphora, the woman we see in the intro. She's the sole surviving regent of Pleiades. Pleiades? I'm not sure if it was ever really pronounced anywhere. Her sole mission is to get her surviving people to the only thing that can possibly help. The one thing that has only been heard of in myth and legend to her people. The Forever Star. So when you scroll all the way to the right, and I mean all the way because it's an actual physical place that you can get to, when you look at it on the map, it says, "The star is just a beacon. The light is what we all carry deep inside," which is said by Princess Euphora herself. So, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to keep your crew happy and healthy while staying one step ahead of the looming enemy presence behind you. Alright, so you gotta make biomass in order to make food, use materials, metals, plastics, and composites to make, well, just about anything else. Metagel is used to heal injured folks, and ammunition is, well, pretty self-explanatory. You use it to basically shoot things. Every one shot for fighters or main ship guns spends 1 unit of ammunition. Once you get to 0, you'll literally won't have anything to defend yourself with. That being said, the Zootopans don't do much other than launch boarding pods that lock onto one of the various airlocks of your ship. Once inside, they go in and start wrecking stuff up with the sole purpose of eliminating everything and everyone on board. Now, I don't think there's a limit on the ammunition when your Marines fight off those boarding parties, but every time a Marine or any crew member dies, it's a large hit on both morale and hope. So yeah, a lot of things to keep an eye on. Oh, and not to mention your electricity and water, especially at the start, first and foremost. Those two resources tend to start going down fast the moment you start to do any sort of building on your ship. A lot of things require water and power to stay working. You'll also want to open your galleys sooner rather than later. Your crew need food in order to not starve to death, and supply officers are the ones in charge of cooking, as well as carrying resources all around the ship, so keep that in mind. The other main thing to keep an eye on, that I mentioned not too long ago, is your hope. Just like what Princess Leia receives at the end of Rogue One.
The transmission we received. What is it they've sent us?
Hope.
You have to keep that hope up in order to keep your Odyssey going. Once you lose all hope, it's game over before you even reach the Forever Star. With the crew leaving the ship in escape pods and the princess lamenting about it sadly. Or I guess, more accurately put, numbly.
On the day Pleiades was destroyed, I felt the pain of 1 billion souls lost in the fire. Today, I don't feel anything. I'm not sure which is worse.
Oh, so that's how you say the word. In much happier news, you also get a little pig mascot along the way. They can be used to cheer people up if morale gets too low. Although, it seems to get into all sorts of things like vending machines. Alright, now the key to success here, beyond maintaining and building things on your ship, are away missions. Try to be mindful about what destination you travel to next. Each destination has the possibility of extracting resources. Each destination has a specific kind of resource, or lack thereof, which is why it's important to look at those details beforehand. Some destinations even have people that can be rescued and added to your crew. However, be careful about how many survivors that you rescue. In the latter half of my first run, I came to find out that the game doesn't really handle huge crew complements very well. When I had over 250 crew members, the game started to chug along really heavily. Anytime I tried to take a look at the crew manifest, it took like a whole minute just to get it to appear, and, well, ultimately the game crashed. So, according to my personal experiences with the game, I would strongly recommend to keep the crew complement to well under 200. I tried to hover over the low 100s and it seemed to be behaving just fine. Ah yes, and another thing to worry about is how fast and how far you can jump. You start off with 2 Jumplight calibrators. That's fine in the beginning sectors of space, but the farther out you get, the more you're going to want to focus on getting better equipment. I would recommend getting 3 calibrators and 3 things called Jumplight cartridges. Those devices are specifically designed to extend the distance of your jumping. I would recommend starting on those upgrades by the end of the first sector. Now, in the way later half of the game, especially when you get to the last 2 sectors in the main campaign, you'll find each destination is spread out even further, so make sure that your Jumplight drives are upgraded accordingly, lest you find yourself cornered by the Zootopan forces with nowhere to go. Oh man, now I know how Captain Liam Shaw feels in Season 3 of Picard.
So, we have 500 guns pointed at our head. We try to run, we are vapor. The second our nacelles light up, help is days away, and this nebula is wreaking hell on our long-range comms. We are essentially cornered in space, which has no corners.
Hey, no fooling, you should check out Season 3 of that show. It's a beautiful send-off for the TNG crew since they couldn't get their one last movie that they were originally planning. Huh? What? What about seasons 1 and 2? Ah, nah, forget about it. Just watch season 3. It's practically a standalone season. Now, this is the part of the video where I would normally say, hey, go on and get this game yourself. You gotta check it out. You're gonna have a good time. But in my accidental research, I discovered something about this game. Something that actually has me hesitant to recommend this game at all. Yeah, I know, right? After gushing over about how much I've been loving it all this entire time, one of the things I discovered during my playthrough is that when a crew member has the daydreamer trait, they daydream a lot, which in of itself is not a big issue. However, it can become an issue when they get hungry. So the daydreamer will get to the galley, pick up a tray of food, but then immediately does the daydreaming animation, which will result in the tray of food disappearing and for the character to not eat anything at all. The crew member essentially starves themselves to death because the daydreaming animation prevents them from eating anything, no matter what they do. That, coupled with quite a number of NPC AI glitches, the sluggish processing at times, and the complete and total lack of self-care by the NPCs, had me researching the topic. I'm like, alright, if I'm gonna be having these problems, surely other people do as well, and what I found? Well, there are claims that development on the game stopped completely. There's even people vying to get the rights for the IP? What the heck is going on here? Oh, good grief. Yeah, it looks like the company, which is called League of Geeks, the developers, has entered hibernation indefinitely. It just couldn't keep up funding, with talks with investors falling through and with them laying off 50% of their workforce back in 2023, according to an article from GameIndustry.biz. By June 12, 2024, they announced that they had let everyone go. The company hadn't closed down per se, but they've entered a stage where they couldn't pay for their employees anymore. In the end, everyone who was involved with the production of the game Jumplight Odyssey was laid off. Oh man, stuff like this always hits me pretty hard, especially when it's a studio responsible for something that I thoroughly enjoyed. I mean, Real-Time Worlds, when their company went all in on the game All Points Bulletin, was just unable to find any financial backing, and I was crushed when they basically ended. Oh, and the most tragic, in my opinion, Mindscape, the company behind my most favorite game as a kid, the very first Lego Island. The first company to ever develop a fully realized 3D game with the ability to look off into the far distance and explore practically every nook and cranny of the map. I mean, literally nobody had done it before. They created that for PC gaming. And yet, due to unscrupulous management by people at the top of the company, their entire team was laid off, allegedly due to not wanting to have to pay bonuses over how widely successful the Lego Island game became. A game that even Lego themselves were unsure of before all that success. I mean, now at this point, there's like a Lego game every year, every other year. Oh, they can't get enough of video games now! I mean, it really gets me thinking, you know? A lot of people have a hand in creating this kind of stuff. I mean, occasionally you get a very little to a one-man team creating awesome things that we all enjoy, but a majority of this stuff is a group effort. Not only that, you can see it in the work itself. When you get a team of like-minded individuals who genuinely love what they do, who are passionate about what they created, you get something magical. And that's the sense that I get with Jumplight Odyssey. I mean, it's not perfect, but you see the foundation of something truly fun. There was a level of care that was had, in spite of what all the flaws were, and you can tell that the developers had a vision, and that they were ready to go all in 100%. The little bit of hope that we can get from all this is that the company isn't in fact defunct or shuttered. It's in hibernation, which tells us that the founders aren't throwing in the towel yet, but that staying in business right now isn't really financially feasible. Well, that explains all the negative reviews on the game, with lots of people calling it abandonware at this point, frustrated that it showed so much promise only to be dropped unceremoniously. Look, I get it, guys. It's something to be frustrated with for sure, but it's certainly not worth getting angry at the game or the staff behind it. Money. Money makes the world go round, and for an indie company, if you don't got the funds to pay your people, what can you do? So, yeah, I can't recommend this game outright due to all that mess. However, if you're still curious after finding all that out and are interested in seeing a concept on what could have been an otherwise fantastic game with an amazing aesthetic, well, I'm certainly not going to tell people not to buy the game to give it a try. Oh, golly, and don't forget that regardless of whether or not you get the game, the soundtrack was made available for free. They were composed by Michael Allen and are just wonderful to listen to. 27 tracks that have that vibe of wonder, discovery, and it just sounds so good. Give it a listen, you won't regret it. There's something there. A nearly snuffed out, resiliently burning ember in this game. Maybe one day we'll see it burn brightly again. And maybe, just maybe, just as Princess Euphora seeks to reach the Forever Star on behalf of her people, the folks over at League of Geeks will be able to properly finish the game. Give it an ending it truly deserves. I mean, after all, in most space epics, there's always hope.